When a loved one passes, well, there's usually a funeral, there's a burial, a cremation. You usually trust those at that very vulnerable point in your life to do the right thing, to take care of what you're hiring them to do to help you move through that difficult point in life. That's not what the funeral home in Colorado did. The Colorado funeral home returned to nature, lined their walls with 190 bodies. Yeah. And then gave the families urns with quickrete. They'll never know, right? How on earth they thought they would pull this off is a whole other question. Here to help break this down and analyze it, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent. When you look at this one and you try to analyze the behavior in this, where do you even start?
It leaves you speechless, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
The eh, but it fits a pattern of shysters and con artists. We see it a lot in society, and I've seen it in the cases I've worked, a lot of espionage cases I've worked, and a lot of the true crime we see out there with serial killers and anything. People that have basically a deep lack of empathy and edging up high in psychopathy, because that means that you'll take advantage of others, and you see the world around you as pure prey for the thrill and excitement that you get out of it, as well as self gain and profit in some way. Matter of fact, a lot of psychopaths, they might build. I've worked cases where people have built others out of hundreds of millions of dollars, but lived austere with very little material goods because they just did it for the thrill of it. Don't know what the motivations here were, but having a husband, wife, partner do this, it's interesting. But again, what all we're seeing is total lack of humanity and empathy for what they're doing. Total self gain, total narcissism going on here. So
I guess the question
more,
is, what are they gaining? I mean, I know you're gaining money by telling people that we're going to cremate your loved ones and they give you a quickrete, but at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. You can't sustain 190 bodies in a building. And the argument that one of the owners made was, "I'm doing what word am I looking for? I kept,
God's work.
I'm missing a word in my mind at this second. Um, it's been a long day. Um, taxidermy. Taxidermy is the
Oh,
word
that's
I'm
right.
looking for.
Taxidermy. That's right.
He
That's,
was
that's
saying
what that's what the smell is.
he was saying it was the smell is from taxidermy. I don't even know how you enter a building with 190 bodies rotting away in it. It's a relatively small building too. I would think that would
Yeah.
almost be toxic and deadly in itself. But beyond that, you can't sustain it. What is the thought process here? Eventually, you're just going to run away with the money and the bodies are just going to rot and the company goes away? Or is there something darker going on here? There's a lot of industries that deal in human corpses.
Anytime someone says, "I wonder what was going on here," you can't figure it out. It means that we're thinking too hard about it.
Yeah.
Potentially, I don't think they're thinking about it at all. I think we're going to find in this case that there's a lot of other things that are going wrong with them, whether it's some sort of drugs or something else going on because they weren't like you said they weren't thinking at all. They didn't play that. Some of our deepest horrendous serial killers out there did a phenomenal job of playing things forward, how
Mhm.
to do things and plan things out, not just today, tomorrow, and where to dump a body and but where to go back to look at it again. I mean, they are really thoughtful. I mean, you look at the Ted Bundys of the world, they can really play these things forward successfully for their own horribleness, right? This couple, nope. They had no plan whatsoever. So it kind of, to me, it's indicative of a real mental lapse going on that's caused by something.
Yeah.
Um,
It's one of those
that's all
cases
I
where you
think.
almost hope the words drugs were involved at the end of the story.
Had to be. Had to be.
Because without it, that's even scarier that this is just their natural way of doing business.
So when human beings hit a high level of their inability and stop problem solving, that's when something's inhibiting their problem solving.
Mhm.
And right now, in this case, they they knew they had a problem
Yeah.
if they're in their right mind. So it means that they weren't in their right mind. That's the only thing you can kind of conclude on that one.
We'll have to see where this all ends. I just wonder if this is gonna spider out into something else of, I don't know, body harvesting, organ harvesting. I mean,
Oh,
there's some
you
dark
know there's
roads.
more here.
Yeah.
you know there's more here. You
Yeah.
don't know what it is, but again, people don't go from 0 to 100. I mean,
No.
here's not a couple that got together and said, "All right, let's open up a funeral place and let's just pretend to cremate bodies and we'll
No.
make our money for life doing that." This was an escalation and a journey and a path and an arc that brought him to this point. It'd be really interesting that what got him to this point. Where did the idea even come from for this? How to get licensed? I mean, all these things are going to come
Yeah.
out, I think, in the investigation because you don't can't just open up a crematorium.
No.
There's licensing, there's certifications, there's schooling, all these things need to be involved. And I'd be really interested to see that arc and path about how that all happened, got them to this point. And they're all in their original motivation to do that all
Mhm.
those years ago, because it's not just something to do overnight.
Yeah. If anything, Colorado needs to take a little bit stricter look at their certification for this industry because if this is going on at one place, like you said in other stories, there's 10 more out there too.
It will be interesting because, like, I grew up in my hometown. One of the kids I went to school with, his parents were morticians. I mean, in the schooling you go through to become a mortician, run a funeral home, and do these types of services, it's long.
Yeah.
It's also they do a lot of interviewing of them too, with psychological interviews to make sure the reason behind it because you deal with really traumatic things and families and things like that. So it's generally a very well regulated industry, at least from my optic that I had on
Yeah.
it. That's why this one kind of struck me as like, what was going sideways here, and when did it go sideways? Because it's so regulated. At least I grew up in New York. At least in that state, I'd be really, like you said, be really curious about what did the state miss? What did the county miss? What did people miss along the way that allowed this to get as bad as it got?
Yeah. Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.